Welcome one and all to our event, My Life, My Business. Wish I was here, and as usual, we're going to address the kinds of content that help you live a life that you enjoy and that you feel so fulfilled and highly rewarding. A life that you look forward to when the sun comes up in the morning and that you can't wait to step into every day. Sounds like a bit of a fantasy, doesn't it? But anything is possible. So, as usual, a special welcome to Shanaaz, who is my co host. And we have been doing this now for some time. Just a reminder that you can listen to us via the playlist on Clubhouse, or you can listen to edited podcasts on our YouTube channel, the Mufasa Coaching Practice. Last week, Shanaaz spoke about setting mental and social health goals, and guess what? I want you to go and listen to that because it makes for riveting listening. And it really is a challenge for all of us to go beyond the standard approach when we think about our goals, when we want to set New Year's resolutions and all of that. Finally, mental health is the key to being present in your daily existence, to be engaged in what you're doing, whether it's personal relationships, whether it's career, whether it is you running your business. Something about listening to Shanaaz made me think, well, that state of happiness, that state of living a joyful existence, I wondered how I could kind of continue in that vein. But I don't have the same background as Shanaaz does, and definitely not the same expertise. So something I mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago already, it is that 2024 is a leap year, and this is the fact that every single one of us have been given an additional 24 hours this year. And yes, what that means, there is more time. And so for all of us who feel that we run out of time, we don't have enough time to do the kinds of things that we pursue, and we blame the availability of time, it's even a wonderful excuse. I'm so sorry, I just didn't have enough time. I ran out of time. When I have the time, I will contact you, or I will do this. Wonderful excuse for procrastination and the like. So I thought, well, listen, the fact that we have an extra day, extra 24 hours this year, means that we have more time, and I wanted to actually find some literature on how to spend it. And guess what? I found a book by the author James Wallman, and it's entitled Time and How to Spend It. Isn't that just fortuitous? And the subtext is the 7 rules for richer, happier days. And the crux of the book says that you need to choose better experiences. So with the extra 24 hours, choose better experiences. And I'm going to tell you why, as he outlines in his book. So the first thing he says is that, studies in America and Britain have shown that people have an average of 5 hours and 32 minutes of free time every day. Isn't that interesting? However, studies show that 70% of the same respondents still feel that they don't have enough time to do what they like. And so what did research uncover for the reasons for feeling like this? Well, interestingly enough, people spend a daily average of about 3.5 hours interacting with their phones. And the reason for that is because of overwhelming fear of missing out, otherwise known as FOMO. And research also shows that experiences are what really brings happiness into people's lives. And that happiness is a strong precursor of success and not the other way around. Because we think, well, the more goals I achieve, the happier I will be. His assertion is happiness is a precursor of success and not the other way around. So therefore, positive experiences lead to happiness, which in turn lead to success. So to achieve success, we should try to have positive experiences. Shanaaz is saying is that she tells her patients the healthy people have the same 24 hours we have. Yes, so true. Absolutely true. And so let's go through the framework in terms of how he encourages us to live a life filled with positive experiences. So, number one, for enduring happiness, choose experiences that add to your own heroic story. And what is interesting about first and foremost, is he talks a little bit about the hero's journey by a scholar by the name of Joseph Campbell. And he says it's a bit of a circular tale, this hero's journey. But it starts out in the ordinary world where the hero accepts a call to action that requires perseverance through many trials and tribulations. And then through this process, the hero learns new skills, overcomes the supreme ordeal, and receives a reward and then returns. And in the end, he shares the gifts and wisdom he acquired, and in doing so, forever changes the ordinary world into a new world. Now, by placing yourself, right, in the hero's role, you can not only recognize what your particular call to action is, but can also begin to be more adventurous and understand that difficulties and struggles are crucial to our stories and shouldn't be avoided. It is through these challenging experiences that we acquire the tools that allow us to reach our goals and slay our own metaphorical dragons. And so the story is really an acronym, right? There's 7 parts to this acronym, and it begins with S for story, T for transformation, O for outside and offline, R for, guess what? Relationships, I for intensity, extraordinary, that's E, and S for status and significance. So events then that provide change and transformation are key to finding fulfillment. And let's break that up. Say, place yourself in your own hero's journey. Okay? You become the hero of your life, or the heroine. Transformation is the name of the game, because change and personal development are key to feeling happier and more fulfilled. So, consider 2 questions. How much have you changed over the past 10 years? Give yourself a rating out of 10. Right? Just pause and think about it. Over the last 10 years, right? And then the next question to consider is, how much do you think you will change over the next 10 years? And just pause long enough. It's just a reflective exercise, and compare how you rate yourself. 1, look at the past, and then rate yourself into the future. There's an example that he shares in his book, and he uses going on vacation. And he says there's 3 ways that you can approach going on vacation. You can try the fly and flop approach, which, while it may be relaxing, it will result in pretty dull stories back home, because you will probably be going to a resort and then engaging in some passive experiences like lying in the sun, sampling the food, enjoying all of reading, and so on. The second approach is the find and seek approach, which differently involves more active involvement, which means when you travel, you plan to travel to new places with the intent to explore. Now, the key here is to gain some new experiences and then have interesting stories to tell. Thirdly, it's the go and become approach, which therefore offers the real chance for transformation. Because here you have a purposeful intent to learn inspirational things about different cultures and customs, or new skills like painting, boating, or traditional sushi techniques. The point of all of this is it will lead to a great story. Remember, all of this is about being able to tell a story through positive experiences, right? And thirdly, let's talk about the third part of the acronym is O, which is outside and offline, and which speaks for itself. It's being outside and offline has been shown to improve people's moods considerably, right? So, and once again, Shanaaz can bear this out. Is research has been conducted in so many different things, so many different areas, so many different contexts. Is that valuable experiences take place in nature and away from the online world. And it's been shown that walking in nature were far more effective at reducing tension, anger, and fatigue, as well as reducing blood pressure and cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone, while at the same time improving mood. On the flip side, too much time spent online leads to feelings of isolation, stress, depression, and insomnia. And you know what? For example, you just know what happens with social media and the way we compare our lives based on what we see there. We think people's lives are sum total of all those pictures and wonderful experiences that they share, and never the heartache. And so yes, and suddenly our lives become less than. So it's stressful. We're not doing as well as the other person that we're seeing online. So being outside and offline has been shown to improve people's moods considerably. I hope you're listening to this. Then engage in activities that connect you with others to avoid the potentially fatal effects of loneliness. And here we're talking about relationships. And it says, persistent loneliness has been proven to cause stress and create more protein fibrinogens in your body, which clog arteries, increase blood pressure, and make diabetes and heart attack more likely. And research has shown that loneliness increased a person's chance of death by 29%. On top of all of this, social isolation increased that chance by 26% to 36%. And then, worse still, and living, for those of you who live alone, and living alone by 32% to 38%. So these statistics show that loneliness is deadlier than type 2 diabetes or smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And so the point about all of this, the key is, don't just say, well, you know what, I am independent, I don't need people, I'm self-sufficient, I'm self-contained. Clearly, relationships are the key. And this has been a recurring theme for us as long as we've been on Clubhouse, is that relationships are key. So building relationships, and how do you do this? Quite practically speaking, as far as pursuing positive experiences are concerned, we say, look, doing interesting things give you stories to share with others, and therefore form bonds with them. Like if you're a loner and you so introverted and shy that you don't know what to say to people, when you pursue positive experiences, you can share that with people, and it's not living your life vicariously through social media, other people's experiences, and the like. You are experiencing things uniquely as to the lens that you have, the filter that you apply to the world, and so it's interesting when you share. And then, because you have a story to share, it's a wonderful icebreaker, and you can join an interest group that shares your, the same sort of hobby or passion, and you do things with others. I tell you, it is absolutely wonderful. One can think about, a book reading club, even if you think, no, I don't want to do the physical stuff, or cooking club. But definitely, if you're hiking, why go on a hike by yourself? Join a club. whether you're cycling or running, join a club, share your experiences with like-minded people. Then he says, we are at our happiest when engaged in intense, immersive activities that allow for good flow. So let's talk about what do we mean by flow? Well, it's a state of being in which you so fully immersed in that you immersed in what you are doing that you lose track of time. And studies have found that when we are experiencing flow, we are also experiencing some of the happiest moments in our lives. And we just want to talk about good flow or real flow rather than bad or false flow. So the focus is going to be on real flow. Now, real flow requires you to put in true, intense effort in order to receive the reward at the end, which means there is no effort in watching a marathon on Netflix, right? There's no reward. And the typical things would be sports are great for adding flow, performing in front of an audience, writing a book or writing in your journal, carpentry, for instance, doing something with your hands, or cooking or gardening, or any number of other activities that require your skill and attention. He says there's nothing like improv comedy. So take a improv comedy class, practice stand-up comedy, and there's nothing more intense than trying to be funny in front of a live audience. Yeah, right. Maybe not my cup of tea. Then the E in the story is about being extraordinary, right? Is how we remember activities has a lot to do with beginnings, peaks, and ends, which is really interesting. So, extraordinary is about experiences that are out of the ordinary. It also means paying attention to the peak moments that determine just how memorable an experience is. Now, even though an experience could be annoying, you'll remember it as being pleasant enough because of how it ended or how it peaked. So, the psychologists talk about this peak end rule applies to a person's experiencing self and remembering self. And therefore, you can also have a happier life by recognizing the everyday as already pretty special. So it's the way you look at your day that's important. Now, then, lastly, is the S in stories, is that activities that boost our status can lead to a happier life. Now, here I was a little bit intrigued by this because, suddenly I thought there was going to be clash of values. And all societies, contain hierarchies of some sort. And whenever there's a hierarchy, there are people of different status. Researchers have found that status can bring happiness, primarily through that added amount of control and number of options in life that come with it. So he references a study conducted by the University of Cambridge that 3 things can lead someone to flourish in life. It is control, it is capabilities, and social participation. And in order for you to increase control, capabilities, and social participation, you gain or attain more education, money, and power. And therefore, it also helps to do things that help you become more fit. And it's about being in better shape so that you can increase the range of physically demanding adventures and activities that are available to you. Now, the final path to higher status for all of us that are living a standard life, pretty boring by some standards, but listen to this. The final path to higher status is to turn off the TV and spend the time getting out there. When it comes to the association between status and money, it's important to understand that it's not about how much you make, but actually how you use it. And so if you mistook what status was all about, and especially when I spoke about education and money and power, is happiness does not come from buying interchangeable material things that anyone else can buy. It actually comes from using money as well as your time to help others. And that is the significant portion of that is. So it's status and significance. And so therefore, to add more fulfillment, meaning, and happiness to your life by focusing on the 7 key elements that make up the best experiences in your stories, starts off with have a story to tell by pursuing positive experiences. Choose experiences that will transform your life, right? That will bring about transformation. Be outside and be offline. Prioritize relationships. Do everything with intensity. Look for the extraordinary. Celebrate the peak in your experiences, or at the very minimum, treat every day as precious and special. And lastly, have status and significance. So I just want to end off with this and say, well, action point. Go offline this weekend and go wild.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.